Hello everyone, thanks for joining me today for this webinar. Email marketing more than just newsletters. Ricky is my name. I'm a digital business advisor at Business Station. Hello Jen, hello everyone else. By the way, just if you have a question anytime during this session, just do what Jen just did then and Aaron, and just throw a question in there and I'll try my best to answer that while we're going through this. So today we're going to talk about email marketing, and as you may or may not know, email marketing is the original digital marketing platform. It actually dates back to the pre-web era. In fact, the first email marketing campaign was delivered in 1978, and in fact, that's a copy of it right there. So it was delivered by a company, a salesperson at a company called Digital Equipment Corporation. I'm very familiar with that company because I used to work for them many years ago, which I guess shows my age because they no longer exist. But that marketing campaign generated $13 million US in sales. So it's been around for a long time, and rather than become old and stale, it's actually developed into a really sophisticated marketing tool that, in my opinion, every business should be using, online business. Now, it's far more than, you can use it for far more than just sending newsletters, as the name of this webinar implies. You can use it for automated welcome emails, through to confirmation emails like shipping, for example, right through to sales and marketing funnels. Even CRMs, landing pages, advertising can be done through a lot of these platforms now. So having said that, let's see what we're going to talk about today. So firstly, we're going to just touch on why should you do email marketing? And hopefully I'll try and convince you that it's something that you should be looking at. What type of email marketing there are, what types there are, how to get started. So what sort of email marketing platform you're going to use, for example, and then the important things like building a list, because you can't do any email marketing without a list. So how do we do that? Some things you might want to consider in terms of personalized email marketing, segmentation, for example, segmenting bigger lists into smaller lists, marketing automations, and then we'll touch on some emails that you might want to set up, and ways to measure your email marketing performance, whether it's doing well or not, and how you need to stay compliant. Okay, so let's kick this off. So why would you do email marketing? Why would you even consider it? Well, here's some reasons why. According to Forbes magazine, it will be, if you do it properly, the highest returning investment of all of your marketing channels. So according to Forbes magazine, $42 US back for every dollar spent on email marketing. So if you compare that to some of the traditional methods that you might be using to market to your customers or potential customers, HubSpot, well-known marketing business in this space, 40 times more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined. Some other stats, to sort of reinforce this. So as we all know, professionals, that's their main sort of preferred communication channel. Some people might be using Facebook Messenger, for example, but the predominant chunk of professionals prefer to use email as their preferred marketing channel. If someone subscribed to your email list, then they're much more likely, 3 times in fact, to share content with other people. So they're sort of an extension of your marketing department. And also, if they are subscribed, they expect to receive an email from you. That's the reason why they've subscribed to your list in the first place, for some information they're expecting to receive from you. A couple of other reasons though, and these are really important, with all of the changes that are happening with things like pixels and cookies next year, we've also got things like privacy changes to Apple iOS and all of these other things that are sort of out of your control. To some degree, email is much more a tool that you can control. It's owned by you. The list is owned by you. You can change platforms whenever you want, but that email marketing list is an asset to your business. and it's always going to be there, as you know, as we've just spoken about, since 1978, and it's only getting better. But the other reason I think you should really consider it, it's because when you're trying to generate leads, turn them into customers, you know, attract people to your site, you've got to have some sort of glue to keep that process together, where you're basically subscribing them to a list, or you may be, there might be in some sort of segment in your email marketing, but you need to basically use this glue, the email, to keep your lead generation funnel going. We'll talk a little bit about that as well in a bit more detail. So that's the reason why I think you should be doing email marketing. Now, what type of email marketing, what types are there? So the first one everyone knows about is a newsletter. So use your email marketing for a newsletter. Now, not everyone needs to do this, and it probably has its place in to a certain segment of your email marketing list. But the thing about these newsletters is that they need to be sent regularly. So, you know, monthly or whatever the case may be, and consistently. And usually there would be some sort of content summary of things that have happened in the past month, for example, updates, announcements. It's not necessarily something that you need, you know, so you need to consider whether it is something that would be beneficial to your business. But they are useful for generating leads. So you'd have calls to action, links to your products and that sort of thing within the newsletter. But you can also use it, very importantly, for once prospects become a customer, you can then build and maintain that relationship so that they come back and buy something from you again, or buy another product, or upsell, cross-sell, all these sorts of things, recommend you to other people. So it's also an important part of nurturing leads. So if someone signed up to your list, then this is maybe one of the pieces of content that you might want to provide them. So that's the first type of email marketing, a newsletter. The second are what you call transactional emails. So this is things like confirmation emails, you know, thank you emails when someone subscribes to your list or buys something from you, or whatever the case may be. Welcome emails, when they first sign up to your list, you want to send them a welcome email to say thank you and here's a bit about us. So that's the second type. The third type are lead nurturing emails. So these are usually, you know, part of a flow or an automation, depending on what platform you're using. They might use different terminology, but it's a part of a series that's sent out automatically usually. And that automation is often triggered by one of three things. So, and we'll go into this in a bit more detail. It'll be either the segment they're in, so they've just been added to that segment for whatever reason, or their behavior. So by that, we mean something like, say, for example, abandoned cart, or it could be based on a certain time period. So it could be, you know, 25 days after they've bought from us, we're going to send them another email because they're going to need to restock or something like that. The fourth type are really informational type emails. So these are, you know, things about, you know, just more information, that it might be new content, new products, for example, could be product updates, something about an event that you've got coming up, or they could be just how to use your product, or educating people more about your product, whether they're a customer or not, depending. So they're the four types of email marketing. We're going to focus on some more than others, I guess. We're going to focus on probably the lead nurturing and the, you know, attracting people to your business to try and convert them into a customer. Okay, so what do you need to get started? Well, the first thing you need is an email marketing platform, and that's the very first thing. So you need to consider, you know, what's going to suit your needs, you know, and that's going to depend on a range of different things. So your budget, for example, how big your email list is, what sort of features you need. So let's talk about some of those. For example, you know, MailerLite, MailChimp, they're great starting packages because they offer a free plan up to a certain email marketing, email list size. So I think MailChimp is free up to 2,000. MailerLite is free up to 1,000 on your email list. MailerLite, though, offers a lot more features than the standard free MailChimp. So that's something to consider. However, if you've got more than that and you're sort of, an established business and you're looking to grow, then maybe something like GetResponse or ActiveCampaign might be more suited. So GetResponse have pre-built email marketing funnels and lots of other templates that you can use. They make it very, very easy. But really there you're looking at, if you had say you did have an email list of 1,000 subscribers, that's going to cost you in the order of about $50 a month. So that gives you some idea of the scale there, from $0 to $50 US. Now, the other things you might need to consider are things like, do I need a CRM? How does it integrate with my website platform that I'm using? For example, if you're using WordPress, you want to make sure that there's a plugin, ideally, that just that integrates the two platforms. I think that's very important because you're going to have forms on your website and you want to do a range of other things. So that becomes quite important too. So choosing an email service provider is the first thing. The second thing is to build an email list, obviously, so you can start to not just send them emails, but you can start to maybe segment that list into smaller groups so you can do much more personalized email marketing to that group. You need to set some goals for what you want to achieve in your marketing, email marketing. And there's a few email marketing goals here. And arguably, depending on where you are, you might have a multiple of these goals at any given moment. So you're always wanting to build your list, which is really about top of the funnel. Increasing sales is more about bottom of the funnel. Brand awareness, top of the funnel. Generate and nurture leads is middle of the funnel. So these are all different sorts of email marketing goals and therefore potentially different campaigns that you might run. Now, you need an email address, of course, and ideally that's going to be the same as your domain name. So if your business is mybusiness.com.au, ideally you want to be using, your username at mybusiness.com.au. There's a couple of reasons for that. And the first and foremost is just from a security perspective, from a end user's perspective. We're always taught that, check the email address if it's not coming from that business. So that's one of the reasons. Secondly, it's going to potentially end up that a lot more of your emails are going to end up in the junk folder. So there's a whole range of, and it's also your brand. So you want to promote your brand rather than Gmail or, whoever else's brand you might be promoting. So definitely do that. It's very important. And also have it, you need to verify your domain and have a range of authorizations set up within that. So you do end up in people's inboxes rather than in their junk folder. I don't really go into that in a lot of detail, but it is important. Okay, so when you're choosing a provider, these are some of the things you need to keep in mind. So there's a lot there, but some of them might not be relevant to you. Some of them you'll find across all of the platforms, but some are just better than others. So I've put top of the list there as the segmentation capabilities. So how easy is it to group your list into smaller segments so you can do marketing just to them? We'll talk a little bit about that shortly. What sort of automations does it have in place? Now, these are important because this is, particularly if you're a sole trader or sole operator or just a small business. With most businesses today, no matter how big, just don't have the resources to send out all of these emails manually. You've got to have some sort of automation in place because it's also your customer service. It's not just a sales automation, it's your customer service automation. What sort of integrations does it have? Does it plug into your website platform? If you've got an existing CRM like Salesforce or whatever it might be, does it plug into that, etc.? So you just need to think about what are the things we need to work with. And then just check out things like reviews. Does it get some good reviews? Always very important. And number of users that are using that platform. What sort of forms does it offer you? Because you need forms to opt people into to sign up to your email list. Landing pages, if that's important. If you've got a website, you can build your own landing page on your website, but you might also just want to use pre-built landing pages as well for, say, advertising campaigns or something like that. And calls to action. So these are the buttons that you put on there to get the visitors to do what you want them to do. Email templates, what do they offer? Does it have an inbuilt CRM if that's important to you? What is a CRM? It's a customer relationship management tool. So that's so that you can build a history of what you're doing with a particular client, when you need to get back to them, what information you've talked about in the past, things of that sort of nature, documents that you've shared, all those sorts of things. And then what sort of reporting does it offer? Now, just noticed I've repeated this one again. So I did sort of go into that in a little bit of detail. So I'm just going to, I'll just show you this. So this is where, this is the free plan. So just if you are just getting started, for example, and you don't have a big email list, you obviously don't want to be spending money on that until you've got a decent email list. So these are the different subscriber limits up until up to where you start to have to spend, upgrade to a premium plan. So MailChimp is 2,000 subscribers, MailerLite 1,000. There's others like Omnisend. I'm not sure if that's so true anymore, actually, so you might want to forget that one. Klaviyo is one of my favorites. That only offers 250 subscribers until you need to start paying. So have a look at all of those. There's also monthly emails limits and daily email limits. But one of my favorites is MailerLite. I think it's very, very good. It integrates with a lot of platforms. But MailChimp is also very good, of course. And so Sendinblue, they're all pretty good nowadays. Now, once you've chosen your provider, so what I'm showing you here is from a WordPress perspective. It's going to be dependent on your platform. But in WordPress, what you do is probably download the plugin for that particular email marketing platform. In this case, it's Omnisend, and they've got one particularly for Woocommerce. I'll download that, copy the API key, and then I would go and paste that. I'll just show you that actually, if I can. This is sort of irrelevant in a way because it's going to be dependent on your particular one, but I would just go into that particular, sorry about the cut off screen there, into the dashboard admin of WordPress and plug it in, plug that API into that plugin there. So, and then most of them, once you've connected your systems, it'll offer you a range of things like, start your first automation, send your first campaign, grow your audience with different forms. So if you've just started, the third one's going to be the one you need to do, because you need to start putting forms on your site to collect email addresses. So those forms could be embedded, they could be pop-ups, could be a range of other things. So we'll talk about that as well. So just show you, if you haven't had a look at any of these, this is just an example of MailChimp and what it offers you. So you can create emails, build different audiences, run campaigns, do automations, build a website even, or landing pages, manage all of your content, integrate with whatever platforms you need to integrate with. So let's just have a look at a bit more detail there. So just in Create, you can create emails, different customer journeys. So that's the automations I was talking about before. So you can easily build, sorry about the square, I've messed up my slide there. Different customer journeys, you can build landing pages and even websites in inverted commas. You've also got designs you can run across different channels. So it might be, for example, different platforms that you're running. There's your forms, so embedded forms, pop-up forms, landing pages. You can do surveys, ads even. So this would be retargeting ads, potentially using email lists to do that retargeting, social posting to certain platforms from there. And you can even send physical postcards. That's MailChimp. They're all slightly different. But as you can see, they're pretty comprehensive tools, and even physical, like postcards. So yeah, quite a comprehensive tool. You're not going to get all of that with the free plan. You'll get most of that with the free plan. Now, on the other end of the scale is GetResponse, and GetResponse, superficially, they say the same things as MailChimp, the same sort of things that you can do. There's a menu at the top. You can create newsletters or automations, campaigns, you can do funnels, landing pages, etc. Same sort of thing over here, a little bit more detailed. You can also quite easily add products here. So if you didn't have a website, you could also sell your products directly through GetResponse. People could buy your products through there. So it's a fairly comprehensive tool, includes all conversion funnels of all sorts for webinars or for products, landing pages. So this really starts to become an all-encompassing marketing tool where you don't really need a website. You can use this virtually for everything other than your social channels, your stores, so you can add your products there, integrate with different things. So as you can see, very, very comprehensive. Now, just in terms of, well, I didn't show the pricing there, but just in terms of, this is Send in Blue. This is another plan. So this is another package. This is a bit like MailerLite. It offers a lot for not that much, but it starts to get quite expensive as your subscriber list grows. They are starting at 10 and 20,000 though, so it's a pretty good starting point. But just wanted to show you that gets quite a few good reviews, and has a CRM as part of that. MailChimp has a CRM as well. So just showing you some of those. There's also MailerLite, which is quite sort of the up and coming. It's like the replacement to MailChimp in a way. It's quite a good tool. Just show you some of this because it's really pretty inexpensive as well. So yeah, you can also sell digital products on here. Not so much physical products very easily. There's the pricing. So it's free up to 12,000 emails sent and 1,000 subscribers. You can pay an extra $10 to get some additional landing pages and unlimited emails. And as you can see, as you go up in your list, for $50 for 10,000 subscribers is not too bad. So that's MailerLite. There's a lot of information there if you want to go there and check it out yourself. Different integrations. So, if you need to plug it into something, Shopify, Woocommerce, WordPress, just check out one of the other e-commerce platforms, BigCommerce, Gumroad, Magento, PayPal, PrestaShop. So a few of them, but not all of them. So it just really depends. So, I didn't see Squarespace there, for example, or Wix, but it could be there. So you need to just double check that. Okay, so that's choosing your platform. And, it really, I would recommend maybe just having a little bit of, doing a little bit of research into that and seeing what you think is best for you. Once you've done that, you need to start building a list. So that's the first step in the process because, that's what it's all about at the end of the day. So how do you do that? Well, I've sort of touched on a few already, but we'll just talk about some options here. So if you have a physical store, for example, or you do see people face to face, you can actually ask them if they provide, grant permission for you to send them emails. So you can just do that in store. You might also want to collect it on an iPad or a laptop or something like that, if you want to do it that way. So in store or physically face to face. Email sign-up forms. I know this sounds obvious, but a lot of people will have their email sign-up forms sort of hidden away. It needs to be quite visible, halfway down the homepage, for example, and give them a good reason to sign up, And it might not be just for a newsletter, like I said. It could be for some club that they're joining or some benefit they're going to get in joining your email list. And it might be that they're going to be told first when new stock arrives. They're going to be kept up to date with the recent changes that you're making. They'll be the first to know about certain things. They might get a discount even. There's a whole range of reasons that you might want to offer them an incentive to sign up to your email list, whatever the email list might be. Pop-ups. Now, most people don't like pop-ups, but they do work. And you will, you may or may not have signed up to a pop-up yourself for whatever reason. And so if it's relevant to you and it addresses your need, then you probably will use it. So welcome pop-ups, that's sort of welcoming a new visitor to your site. And you might incentivize them to maybe exchange their email address in exchange for a discount off their first purchase, for example. That's just an example. So you've given them a reason to do that, and in turn you make a sale. There's exit intent pop-ups. There's all different types of pop-ups. I'm just showing you a couple of different types. This is, as you're leaving, you've probably seen this yourself. This is sort of like a last-ditch effort to grab their email address before they leave. And the reason, I haven't really spoken about this, but why do you need the email address? It's obviously so you can market to them, because if they leave, it's like they're walking out your door, you might not see them again. So how can you continue marketing to them? And that's the whole point of gathering their email address. So there's exit intent. You might have a promotional pop-up, maybe just on the shopping pages, for example, that offers something to do with your products, if you've got products like that. So in this case, it's showing you free shipping, for example, if they sign up. So that's something else you could offer. It's also going to depend on the flexibility of the pop-up tool that you're using. Some social pages will allow you to sign up people for email marketing lists as well. So you might want to consider doing that. You can do it at checkout, depending on your platform. It might be easier than some, but in some of them, you can have a subscribe to our email list checkbox on your checkout, and you can keep that checked. So they have to, if you like, opt out rather than opt in. There's certain platforms will allow you to send people notifications based on things like if something's back in stock, it's been out of stock, they click on the notify me when it's back in stock button, they leave their email address and you tell them when it's back in stock. So it's a win-win. They get to buy their product, you get a sale, and you also get their email address to continue marketing to them with. There's also things like loyalty and referral programs. So you might have customers that haven't given you permission to do email marketing, for example, or just it might be a new customer, but either of those, just a loyalty program. So you obviously need their email address in exchange for joining that loyalty program, and or referral programs also work quite well. Lead magnets, you've probably heard of this before, but this is really where you're exchanging some value. It doesn't have to always be an ebook or anything like that. It could be a sample or something of value that's checklists are quite useful, I guess, depending on your particular business. So that is something to think about. There are tools out there that are ebook makers, generators. Canva Pro is one of those, for example. There's a few other ones. And finally, just some sort of, discount or deal in exchange for their email address. And that could pop up at any time. What you don't want to do is have the pop-up come up when they're loading the site. So it needs to be delayed until they've had a chance to have a look at the site, because it's not just a turn off, but it's affecting their performance, particularly if they're on a mobile. It's a big no-no. In fact, you might even want to consider turning pop-ups off for mobiles if you can, because it really does sort of take up the whole screen. Sometimes difficult to turn them off, etc. So just something to think about. Okay, so building a list, just talked about it. How would you do that through an email marketing platform? Well, they all have forms available, and that's really what we're talking about here. So this is Get Response, and I'm just going to the forms section. They also have surveys, and you can create one or the other. So we're going to create a form. They make it really easy. You can have one to build a list, or there's a whole range of different templates depending on what you're trying to achieve. Do you want people to sign up to an event, download an ebook, is it seasonal, etc. And the whole idea here is maybe not to use it as is, but maybe just to customize it to your particular brand. You could also do, from scratch sort of ones as well. Facebook, ones for ordering products, for example. So these are the sorts of forms that you could use. And as you can see, there's different formats. You can do full width embedded forms on your, that takes up the whole width of the page. You could do a pop-up, and there anything sort of in between. So these sort of platforms will enable you to choose the type that you want. There's a few list builder apps to build your email marketing list, integrate it with other things like Facebook. So you can see quite comprehensive in terms of the offer from GetResponse. If you want to see how that looks in, say, MailChimp, a free version, it's relatively similar, just not as flash. So you'd go to the audience dashboard and you've got the sign-up forms, and you would then choose the sort of sign-up form that you want. So there's a form builder there, for example. You can build one yourself, embedded forms, pop-ups, just a contact form if you like. So we'll just have a look at one of those in a second. I should have probably selected, this is a pre-recorded screen recording. Oh, well, there you go. So there's an embedded form. So it sort of previews what it would look like. And you can really change it to suit, completely customize it to suit your particular website. It might not look like it here, but, for example, there's different options. So I can look at a, say, condensed option, and that's your typical, subscribe box when you've got limited space, maybe in the footer, for example. And you can just copy that and embed that on your website using HTML. Or if you've got the MailChimp plugin installed, you'll just be able to select the form you want to put wherever you want to put that on your particular website. And you can see, you can also do contact forms, and then they'll be added straight to your email marketing list. Okay, so that's the first step, building a list. You've got some pop-ups you can make. And, it might not look as flash as the GetResponse one, but underneath all of that, that's what the GetResponse one looks like. They've just put some images on there for you. So basically, it's just about adding your own images, your own fonts, logos, etc. I'm going to continue on here because I really do mess this up. I start to use GIFs and everything. So, but you get the idea anyway. Okay. So you've got your email marketing list. You've started to build that. At some point, you'll want to do something like this, which is build a really simple email marketing strategy. Now, this is very simplified, but you're going to have one list. What you want to do probably is start to segment that into different audience types. So in this particular case, you can see like families, elderly couple, young men, for example. And they're obviously going to be after different types of information or different products. And that allows you to do that and also do it on a really personal sort of level. And that's where the success of email marketing comes from. So you segment the audience and you then send them content, the right content that they're looking for at the right time. And that right time just means automating it. And then you follow that up based on their actions. So, and you can do that automatically. So if they don't open your email, you could follow that up to try and get them to open your email if you like, or based on what they did after they opened your email, you're going to maybe choose some other actions. So did they buy? Did they just click on the link to your website but not do anything? Or did they go all the way through and buy? And you're going to then treat them differently based on those different actions. Okay, so the reason why you want to do that segmentation is because of some of these things. You might not be able to see all the detail there, but basically the more you segment your email list into logical sort of smaller groups, the more success you'll have across the board. So you'll get more, 39% increased opening rates of your emails, greater email relevance to that particular user group. You'll get less unsubscribers, better deliverability rates, etc. All these things that are important to your email marketing campaign will be increased just by doing that segmentation. So it is very, very important. And you can segment your list based on a range of different things. So it's going to depend on your audience, your products, your business, for example, but it could be based on any number of these. So, where they are in the sales funnel, have they just become aware of you and therefore you need to tell them a bit more about what you do and build some trust? Or are they an existing customer, long-time customer? They'll want different information types. And you can build lists based on those, or segments based on those parameters. What job they have, what interests they might have, their purchase history, their birthday, etc. So all sorts of ways that you can segment your list. So like I said, you can do it based on a huge range of parameters. I've already spoken about some of those. Could be job title, whatever, awareness, stage, wherever they are. So just to show you how you would do that. So this is Klaviyo, but they're all pretty much the same. This is Klaviyo showing you the segments that you've already set up. So I've got potential purchasers, repeat buyers, VIP customers. Now, I'll just show you how you could set up another segment. So all I have to do is I click on the create segment, create list segment, create a segment here. I'm just going to call it test for now. And then I want to define who goes into that email marketing segment. Could be based on tags, but I'm just going to do it based on a definition. And that definition is any of these. So what someone has or hasn't done, properties about someone, what list they're on, for example, where they are in terms of a location. But what I'm going to do is choose what they have or haven't done. And then I can choose any range of, in this case, email marketing, metrics, forms, lots of different third parties, or in this case, Shopify metric, because it's a Shopify store. So I'm going to choose a particular product. So I want to put on this list anyone that's ordered a particular product. And I'm going to say more than once, because I want it to be like a regular purchaser of this product. So in this case, if they've ordered more than 3 times over all time, then they're considered a regular purchaser of that product. Now, what I'm going to do here is then define what that product is. So I'm just going to select product ID in this case, but you can see I can choose variant, anything, product ID. So that's basically it. If I save that now, that would be anyone that's bought that product more than 3 times, or at least 3 times, they would be added to that list. And that's sort of evergreen. So as people buy products, they'll be added to that list. I could also extend this segment. I'm not going to worry about showing you this for now, because all I do is I add another product. But you could also say, but also that live in Melbourne, for example. It might be another parameter. That gives you a really small, personalize this, people in Melbourne that have bought that product more than 3 times or 3 times or more. And you can then do some really personalized marketing to them. So that's all segmentation is really. And you might want to think how that applies to your particular business. Once you've done that, you would probably then set up some automations. And we'll talk about some of these automations a bit now. So automations are really, I think, really have made email marketing tools very, very sophisticated. And they've become very good at what they do now. Now, automations are really email, usually a series of emails, and they're triggered, not always, but usually, and they're triggered in one of 3 ways. So the first way is based on what someone's done. So you can say, okay, if someone's, in this case, abandoned a shopping cart, I want to send an automated email to them. So that's a pretty standard one and something that you're probably familiar with. In some platforms, you can also send them an SMS. So, and you might do that immediately after they've abandoned it, or maybe an hour, depends on what you think is appropriate. Now, that's important if you've got an e-commerce store, because the statistics are that up to 70% of people will abandon their shopping cart. So if you're not doing this, you're not going to claw some of those back. And that's all it's about, clawing some of them back, not stopping that, because it's impossible for you to stop abandoned cart. You can minimize it. And that's really what this is about. So automations based on someone's behavior. The second might be based on what segment they're in. So they've just purchased a product, it puts them into a particular segment. In other words, they've just purchased that product before 3 times. They're now in that regular purchases segment. I'm going to send them, as soon as people arrive in that segment, I send them an automated series of emails. So that's another way. The third would be based on a date. So for example, someone buys something with, a certain number of hours or days afterwards, you would decide that you're going to send them an automated email. It might be something like this where they need to restock or refill, but it could be just some other reason that you want to do it based on that date based. Could be a birthday as well, of course, or an anniversary. So this is what those automations look like. This is, once again, this is Klaviyo, and they all have their own name for them. So Klaviyo call them flows, MailChimp call them customer journeys, but they're essentially all the same. So I'm just going to show this recording to you. Now, all of them will have pre-built automations, and I've already set some of them up here. So back in stock, abandoned cart, but you can also just, in this case, we're going to browse some of the preset ones so you can see what's available. So happy birthday email, and, like depending on what you want to achieve, you would then choose, you could filter these sort of emails. So nurturing prospects, converting sales, etc. And then there's a whole bunch of different ones there. So abandoned cart reminder there, back in stock, customer win back, thank you, customer thank yous, shipping confirmation, all sorts of different ones that you should have, any number of these set up depending on, what you do. Asking people to review your product, for example. So this is, I just clicked on one of these. This is browse abandonment, which is actually probably a terrible one to click on because it's actually quite one of the more complicated ones. So this is after someone has viewed the product. They haven't even bought it. They've just viewed it. They must be on the list in this particular case, on your email list. They're viewing your product, not buying them. So you then say, okay, after a couple of hours, I'm going to send them an email to say, hey, saw that you were looking at this product. Here's a 5% discount to go and buy it, for example. So that's just an example of a pre-built automation that you might want to use. If you're using something like MailChimp, these are some of the automations that are built into MailChimp. So there's a welcome message. That's really important. We'll talk about that in a second. Educating subscribers, about your product or whatever it might be, your services. Specific product purchase, you could send them an email about that, etc. So these are all some automations that they have in their workflows. Okay. So you've chosen your email marketing platform, you've started collecting emails, you've got to a certain point where you start to segment that, because you need a critical mass. So you've now got those segments. But you should also set up some email marketing, have them ready to go. And I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. But here's some email marketing examples that you might want to consider and even set up. So the first one is an email marketing funnel, and we'll talk about that. The second is a welcome email. Very, very important. That's when someone signs up to your email list. You want to send them not probably just one email, but a series of emails. And that's a very important kickoff to introducing them to your business and your products. Retargeting emails. So you can do retargeting on advertising when someone visits your site using a pixel or whatever, or Google Tag Manager, for example, and you can then retarget them on either Facebook or other websites. You can also do similar, if you like, using email marketing. And the most basic we've talked about already, which is the abandoned cart. So that's a retargeting campaign of sorts. There's also a win back. A win back would be, for example, where you've got people on a list, and you will get these if you start doing email marketing, that are just initially they're responsive, and then they stop opening your emails, and eventually they're not opening any of your emails. So you can set up a campaign to try and re-engage them and get them back into the fold. You can also do Facebook retargeting. So this is where you've got a particular segment, for example, that say they could be looking at a product, or let's just say it's your email list and you want to convert them into, you want to start targeting them on Facebook. You can convert that into a custom audience and start doing it that way as well. So let's just have a quick look at this different options here. So what is an email marketing funnel? It's to get people to go from wherever they are out there in the ether to land on a landing page, sign up to an email list or some other list that you might want them to sign up for. And in response to that, they receive a welcome email. And that welcome email will be a series of emails that explain who you are and what you do, promote your products, and maybe also your social media channels, for example. You might also, in some of those emails, have links to your products or some other call to action, basically buttons they can click on within your emails, and it will take you to your website or wherever you want to direct them to. And then you continue to send them those email marketing updates and promotional emails. Okay, so that's essentially what an email marketing funnel is. It's pretty straightforward in a way. This is sort of what it might look like. So someone comes into your landing page, could be any page. It's called squeeze page on here because that's often used in these sort of email marketing funnel terminology, but could be any page. They sign up to your list. It's an opt-in form, do they? Well, you've got a certain percentage that are going to and a certain percentage that aren't. You could target those certain percentage that don't through retargeting on Facebook or Google, for example, potentially. But let's say the ones that do, you would then have an automated series of emails that go out to them. And it could be any number depending on what you think is the best that you need to do to achieve your objective, which is to get them to become a customer or a qualified lead or whatever it might be. So that's a very simple email marketing funnel that you might want to consider. And that really is the welcome email. We'll talk about that in a second. So there's a few things you might need in an email marketing funnel, and we can just talk through those now. So I've just got this. This is I think this is actually from Get Response. So this is where they're showing you what you need at each stage of that funnel. So the sign up page, that could just be a form on your web page, or it could be a specific page to get them to sign up. So that's really what that is. You might have a pop-up in case they don't sign up. So you want to grab their email address before they leave. You've got follow-up emails and sort of email marketing, email automation, if you like. You've got the sales page, so sign up page, and the sales page where you're actually trying to convince them to become a customer. Once again, that could be on your website, ideally. So all we're talking about here so far is a pop-up and some automated emails. Things like order forms, so that's potentially already on your website, abandoned cart emails, a confirmation page. This is fairly easy. So this is just a page you would either have set up through your email marketing platform or just on your website, be a thank you page, and you can redirect people to that when they've finished. And then you've got that confirmation email, confirming their order, for example. So everything we've talked about either probably exists already if you have a website, or could potentially exist, or it's part of an email marketing platform. And this is that glue I was telling you about before. So let's just think about so you might see different versions of funnels, sales funnels. They all basically have this approach or philosophy. So awareness, consideration, conversion, and then there's a couple of different ones, which is where you're really trying to get them to advocate on your behalf, testimonials, reviews, that sort of thing. So So let's just look at different stages of that funnel and what you might need from an email marketing funnel perspective. So at the top, when they're coming onto your page, you need those forms we spoke about. So you need a landing page where they come to, then you need a sign-up form on that landing page, and maybe a pop-up if you think it's appropriate. So that's the first one. You're going to capture their information you're going to get them to that page, capture that information. That's where they then become, if you like, a customer they're already a lead to some degree, but they're not a qualified lead. So this is where you really want to identify a bit more about them. And this is where they're going to this is why it's called consideration. So you might be one of a number of different solutions they're considering. So it's really about convincing them that you're the right solution for them. And this is really where you need to understand a little bit more about the client, I guess, or your particular target audience, and ideally have some information about that on your website. But from an email marketing perspective, you're trying to demonstrate value. So solutions to their problems, comparisons with other solutions potentially, educating them about your particular solution or the industry at large. Might be a webinar that you're inviting them to, or it could be some testimonials that you're talking about. So, that's some content that you might consider at that stage. And the conversion is really where you're really trying to get them over the line. So this is where your subject line in your email is important. The calls to action become very, very important. What incentives you're offering them. That personalization I spoke about, also important. Urgency, etc. So that's really all I'm really talking about here. There are some other stages when this is when they're a customer. So now you're really trying to nurture that relationship. It's about getting them to come back again and buy additional products from you, or to, restock, or whatever it might be. So this is where, maybe a newsletter would be useful. Regular emails, talking about upsells, loyalty programs. So you can see here, a lot of it's, the messaging is sent out via email or potentially on social media as well. But you will still need some things on your website, for example, such as them being able to sign up to the loyalty program, for example. You could also, this is where you might build a Facebook group, private Facebook group. And so, you've got those loyal customers as part of that. And then finally, this is where you really want them to, be giving you 5-star reviews and fantastic testimonials, and sharing your content, maybe being an affiliate or a partner in some sort of program that you might offer. But this is sort of getting a little bit outside of the scope of what we're talking about here. Not really, but it is a little bit. So we focus, I guess, primarily on trying to get them to become a customer. This is about them after that. But it is something that's really important that you might want to just consider. So I'm just going to go back to one of those platforms I showed you before. This is GetResponse. And you can see there they've got a conversion funnel section. Just going to go to that. Now, these guys they have pre-built templates to allow you to do this. So you can grow your email list, a funnel for that. There's a funnel for selling products. There's a funnel for building brand recognition. And so you can click on Create Funnel. What I was going to say before is that you can do this with basically all of the other marketing platforms, email marketing platforms. It might just be a little more fiddly. So build a list. There's a lead magnet and a standard opt-in funnel. If you want to sell a product, there's a full sales funnel and a quick sales funnel. And then there's also webinar funnels as well. So paid and free webinars. So very useful, but like I said, not unique really, just makes it easy to do. And like I said, it's $50 US a month. Let's say you had a campaign for 3 months, it's $150, and you might say, okay, now we're going to invest in something different, but it's not too bad for an email marketing campaign to $150 to spend on invest in a platform like this. And here you go. So this is the test funnel that I just organized, and it's basically one click and you start to create that sign up page. You could have your own sign up page on your own website, so you don't have to do it this way. But there they show you some templates that they've got ready to go, depending on what you're trying to achieve, of course. So online courses, physical products, etc., services, seasonal. Okay, so I might just leave that there. See, plenty of options for you. Now, I think this is, I'm not sure if this is a different slide or not. No, I think it is the same slide. So I'm going to just skip that one. Okay, so spoke about those funnels, but let's just talk about a really simple one. So a simple one, like I said before, would be a welcome email. This is really important because it builds that initial relationship, and someone signs up to your list, and what you would do is send probably a sequence of emails to new signups to your email list. And in that sequence, you might introduce your products, you might introduce your business, your brand, what you do, your social channels, try and get them to sign up to those, any offers and promotions that you might have on. It's very easy to automate. You can do that yourself, no problem at all. And it would look something like this. So the flow would be, the trigger is when someone subscribes to the newsletter, you send them a thanks for signing up email where you might talk about a little bit about who you are and what you do and what you stand for. You might wait a few days, send them a follow-up email about your social media channels, try and get them to follow you on that. And then you could wait a few days and send them information about your best-selling products or a particular product category or whatever you think might be appropriate. So a really important introduction to your business. And based on what they do, you can then decide what you're going to do as the follow-up step. So did they open all 3 emails and click on the links, or did they just ignore you, etc.? So that's where you need to start to do that sort of segmentation. So welcome email. This is just another one I'm just going to show you on MailChimp. So MailChimp, you've got customer journeys, and you can start creating. You can see the different types, customer journeys, transactional emails. But like I said, they're not all going to be available to you. Retargeting ads. Postcards. So here are the different journeys: welcome new contacts, send multiple offers to abandoned cart customers, etc. But the one at the top there is what I was talking about, welcome new contacts. But you can see there's plenty of different ones there for you. So you click on that and you just customize it to suit your particular need. So this is a bit more simplified, but you can also, as you can see, depending on what they do, you can have different options of whether they become a customer, whether they react a certain way. You can then tag them a certain way and then respond to them differently. Okay, so that's the welcome email. I think it's a really important one to have set up. The second one that you should have set up, I've already sort of mentioned this, and that's the abandoned cart. Now, that is assuming that you have a cart on your particular website. You may not, depending on what your business does. So this is Klaviyo that I'm showing you here, and you can see, there's the abandoned cart one there. You would just click on that and customize that to suit your particular needs. And what the customer would then get is obviously something like this that says, I don't like this email particularly, but, hey, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, you've left something in your cart. Here's some sort of incentive, ideally, and to come back and finish that purchase. And this is what other people might have purchased that also purchased that. Here's some reviews for that product. You might also consider these, for example. There's a range of things you could say in that abandoned cart email. And it does work, definitely does. I can speak from experience and my clients. It just depends. It works to different varying degrees, depending on, the email that you put together, your customers, your products. But it will work to some degree, even if it's just by reducing that abandon rate by 1% or 2%. Customer win back. So once again, it's a customized flow. And this is really where you would send someone an email to see if they want to stay on your list, essentially. And if they do, they'll often re-engage again, even if it's just temporarily, but it is something worth doing. You can also do retargeting, like I said earlier. So this is where you might have people that are, maybe people that have purchased a particular product, or they could be VIP customers. It could be a range of different ways that you could do this, and you could target them on Facebook as well. So you could easily turn that into a custom audience. Same applies to any email list or segment that you have, essentially. So that could also be, say, inactive customers. They're not engaged with you on email, so let's try retargeting them on Facebook. And same if you have, say, your most valuable customers, your regular purchasers, that sort of thing. You might want to build a lookalike audience based on that. So you could just import that into, whatever it is, Google or Facebook, depending on the platform that you're using. And you can then build a custom audience based on that particular list. So you can do that quite easily if you've got the two integrated, like MailChimp and Facebook are here. Okay, so the other thing you might just want to consider, and this, I guess this is a little bit obvious, but take advantage of the templates that they offer. And even though some, like MailChimp, are quite basic, it's just because they don't have they're just outlines of a template, so they're wireframes, if you like. So they're not actually, they don't have the images in there. But once you do add your images and products and logos and colors and branding, they'll start to look very, very good. So you can see lots of different options in terms of templates. And someone's gone to the effort of designing this, some graphic designer, web designer. So you may as well benefit from that. And some are better than others, depending on the platform that you're using. But as you can see with MailChimp, it's really easy to customize that. I can just drag any of those things on the right across to that page if I wanted to, or change my logo. It's just very, very simple to use. So just a couple of things there. I could also decide that I want to add a particular piece of content to that, add my products, have a link to the store, etc. And that's just a standard MailChimp template. Just seeing what I'm trying to do here, I can't remember. So just, it's that easy. You just drag it there and away you go. Okay, so really easy to use the templates, and I do recommend that. And like I said, some are better than others, depending on the ones the platform that you're using. But pretty much they're quite similar to some degree. You might just get more options with some of the fancier premium packages. I think this one is Klaviyo from memory, just to give you an idea. Okay, so that's templates. This one here is Get Response, just showing you that quickly. You can see lots of different pre-designed templates, or you can build your own, depending on what you want to do. Okay, now, so that's essentially email marketing in a nutshell, but you do want to be able to measure your performance when you're doing these sorts of things. So this is really what you need to measure. These are your email marketing metrics you need to keep an eye on. Delivery rate, open rate, click rate, conversion rate. So all of these email marketing platforms do report these, and these are the things you need to measure. And this is the industry average I'm showing you here. So delivery is what percentage are actually arriving in people's inboxes. That should be in the high 98%, high 90% percentiles. And that's because that's an indication of a clean email marketing list. Open rate, so 31%, it should be around about that, the low 30s, and that indicates an interest in your brand. The click rate, So how many times are they actually clicking on your links, for example, in your emails? 5% is the industry average. So that's interest in the content within your message. And then the conversion rate is, what action, have they taken the action you're asking them to? In other words, maybe buying a product. The industry average depends there is between 2 and 5%. So they're the things you really want to keep an eye on. I'm just going to speed up here a little bit because I'm running out of time. So I was going to show you some things here. I probably will click through this because I don't really have time, but those are the things you just want to basically keep an eye on. So things like click-through rate, this actually comes from MailChimp. You might want to just go on some of these sites like MailChimp and get a guide on some things that you might want to do there to improve some of those rates. Finally, just some regulations you need to keep in mind. So making sure you're compliant. So the first foremost, of course, is spam. You need to have their permission to send them an email. So that's the first thing. If you don't have their permission, then it's really not worthwhile risking it because you'll have just poor response rates. You might even get blacklisted by the email provider like MailChimp, for example, if you're getting a lot of spam reports. So you need to just make sure that you've got their permission, and that if more and more you need to comply to the GDPR regulations. And although they come from Europe, they are sort of going global. And at the end of the day, they're just privacy regulations that we all want to sort of comply with. So you just need to make sure that you're compliant to that. And it's mostly about gathering the least information that you can from your customers. You need to have a really visible unsubscribe option on your email marketing so people can do that if they want to. And not many people know this, but you need to also have your physical address on there, is the regulation. So an actual street address. I've already sort of mentioned this, but making sure that you're sending it from your domain name, email, and making sure that you don't buy email lists because, one, you don't have their permission to send emails to them, and two, you just don't know where that email list has come from. So just avoid those and just put a bit more effort into sort of building your own list. And before you know it, you'll have a decent email marketing list that you can market your business to. That's it. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining me today. Look, sorry, I should have copied that link there and I could have pasted it in chat. But if you want some of the things I talked about, resources or just tools and things that I talked about in this presentation, you can just write that URL down and go to that and get the information there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, everyone. I hope you got some value out of that. You might want to, if you want to jot my email address down there, if you have any questions or you forget something that I spoke about, I'm happy to also answer that as well. But yeah, just make sure that you've got that URL written down. I just want to double check. I'm assuming that you're all part of the Digital Solutions Program. You may or may not be, depending on how you signed up to this. I'm delivering this as part of that Digital Solutions Program. If it is something that you might be of interest to, firstly, what is it? It's a mentoring and digital business advice program. 7 hours of advice for $44 in a range of areas. If you are at all interested, you might want to just visit that link there or go to businessstation.com.au. Email, Jen. My email is just ricky@businessstation.com.au. Yep, if you have any questions. Happy to answer any questions. Or like I said, go back to that link there and you've also got resources there. Other than that, hope you got something out of that and good luck with your businesses. Hope you all succeed and I might see you next time on one of my